It's time for the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship. This round is MotoAmerica Superbikes at Brainerd for our 6th of 9 for 2023. From Brainerd International Raceway right here in Minnesota, it's time for Supersport race number 1 at a totally different racetrack than we've been to all season long. A very flat Brainerd International Raceway with all eyes on this guy, Xavi Forés, who's coming to MotoAmerica, and he's undefeated so far. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the broadcast. I'm Greg White, standing alongside two-time AMA champ Jason Pridmore. Now, Jason, it is incredible what we're seeing from Xavi Forés because the talent in this field is deep, but he has yet to lose a race.
He's let you lose a race, Greg, and we kind of would expect that from a guy like Xavi Forés on a great team that he is. But at Laguna Seca, Josh Hayes was getting close. It was our second extended race of the year, and he had some problems. Coming here to Brainerd, we see two fast Yamahas now. Rocco Landers is back in Supersport. Hayes again quickest. After day one, Xavi Forés a little bit further back, but he'll chip away and get it figured out.
Let's get back to WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca and show you the race highlights. This was our second extended race, a 55-minute race with a mandatory pit stop.
And we know the number 4 loves to lead, don't we? And the Suzukis of Ty Scott and Teague Hobbs early on were giving that fight, but you can see Xavi Forés is kind of carving his way through the field. Mesa makes it really easy for Xavi here through the corkscrew to get to the back and at least see Hayes up in front of him, and he would continue to chip away at the number 4. Had a couple big front end slides, did Xavi, that kind of thwarted his efforts, but this was the story of the race. Unfortunately, the team for the number 4 bike of Josh Hayes couldn't get that front wheel in. This ended up costing him some serious time. When the pit stops were all sorted, Xavi Forés found himself out in front and able to control the pace, control his tires, and take another victory here at Laguna Seca.
So for Xavi Forés, his 8th win in a row, and that is a record. But for Josh Hayes, he lost about 16 seconds in the pit, but only finished 12 seconds behind him. So here is Xavi. He sits atop that leaderboard ahead of Gerloff and JD Beach, and we had a chance to talk to Xavi Forés about his single-season win streak in Supersport.
No, honestly not. It's been way better than I was expecting at the beginning of the season. I was expecting fighting for podiums, victories, some 4th, 5th places and on the most difficult tracks, but win 8 races in a row, it's something that I was not expecting, and I'm pretty happy about that, to be honest. Every time it's been more difficult to stay on the wins, especially in Laguna. I had a big fight with Josh Hayes on the first part of the race till we changed the tires. And also this weekend is going to be completely different because this track is not treating the Ducati as much as it treats to the other ones. But I'm also thinking a little bit more on the championship, and I have to be a little bit more careful on these races. So for sure I will try to win the races, but if not, I will be happy fighting for the podium and try to get important points back home.
And the result of all this is a 100-point lead. But, Jason, there is a fierce battle going on in Supersport for second place right now.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a bunch of contenders in there. Obviously, Ty Scott, Josh Hayes, like we talked about, is in there. Stefano Mesa, though, has been the guy that has shown that he can run with Forés, as we saw at Road America and some other places. So, yeah, it's going to be a grueling fight all the way to the end for those guys.
And we had a chance to talk to these racers that are locked in this battle for second, and here's what they had to say.
I think it's just a matter of keep grinding, you know, keep figuring the bike, keep doing my thing, and just try and be up there at the end of the race. You know, all the boys I'm racing against, they're no slouches. They're big names, so I'm just happy I'm battling with them and being with them, and just got to keep learning, you know, keep learning, and just one day it's all going to click together and we're going to be able to beat that Ducati.
We're making improvements every round with the bike, the development, and I think we're getting closer and closer to the ideal setup using the data from last year, then showing up to the track this year. I'm a little bit stronger this year, feel better on the bike, more comfortable, and every track we get to, we get a little bit closer to the front. Josh and Mesa have been exceptionally fun to race with this year, and we're all chasing Forés right now.
I'm not out there riding around with those guys thinking, well, if I finish in front of them or I finish whatever. You know, there was a time in our lives where we got paid bonuses for the top 5 in the championship, maybe. I've done that, you know. I just want to win races. That's it. That's all I think about. It's all I care about. And I'm lucky that I have this crew, and we've made Xavi work for it a few times. I'm disgusted and tired of seeing him on the top of the box as much as I like him. So at this point, I'm just going to keep pushing as hard as I can and see what we can do to get that win that we're looking for. Wins, not one. Let's get wins.
Well, you definitely have to keep your eyes forward because Chavi's out there, but anything could happen. Jay, Brainerd International Raceway is completely different from any circuit we've been to so far this season.
Yeah, you can see the start-finish line there. Turn 1 and Turn 2 on these Supersport bikes are going to be wide open, Greg, all the way to Turn 3. Hard braking there. Then we have the series of S's in Turns 4, 5, 6, and then a new area that they developed for MotoAmerica a couple of years ago, Turn 7, the carousel there in Turn 8, which brings us through a fast Turn 10 and 11 into really the last passing spot. Turn 12, go under the bridge, fast, a little bit off-camber right-hander, second gear off-camber right turn, back to that start-finish line.
Can't wait to see what Brainerd has in store race-wise for us. But how about this guy? He's from New Hampshire. He's 20, and he's a Supersport rookie. He's got a pair of podiums. Can he climb on the top step today? We'll find out.
All right, bikes are out on their warm-up lap here, and you know the interesting thing, that interview, Roger, that Jamie did with Chavi just a little bit ago, one of the things that caught me was he's saying it's now important to start managing points. That message to me was he doesn't care if he wins out, he doesn't care if he sweeps the season. He wants the championship.
Yeah, he definitely wants the championship, and I think if he feels like he has the opportunity, he still will go for the win because he has such a points lead. But if he knows, like he did at Laguna, for example, front tire issues, front end problems, you could tell he kind of settled for second. And then, other people made mistakes and he's able to get that win. So I think he's going to push hard when he feels like he can win. But if he feels like he has to take a lot of risk or, uncomfortable a little bit, he's not going to be afraid to settle for just bringing some points home.
And the other thing I wanted to ask you, okay, you're in a battle here. Obviously, Chavi's got this massive lead, but the guys that are second through fifth all kind of compressed. How hard do you push against Rocco here? He's not a player in the points. He's really fast here. At a certain point, you just say, let him go.
No, I think everybody wants to win, and for their team, and for them, and also to set an example for the rest of the year, and then also, for your resume.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's certainly what he's thinking too. Rocco Landers I'm talking about. And this one is a huge personal investment from Rocco himself and the family to get this bike ready to come back out. And he too wants to get out and make that point that this is where he should be racing here, and we're looking for that unfolding. He will start on pole as Supersport about to get underway here at BIR.
MotoAmerica Supersport coverage is brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series, and by Geico Motorcycle. Visit geico.com to see how easy covering your ride can be.
Welcome back to Brainerd, Minnesota. We are just ahead of Supersport Race 1, and before the break, we heard from some of our front runners, and while the pressure is certainly on for them, there's no pressure for the wild card entry in the class this weekend of Rocco Landers. Now, when I talked to him, he said he wasn't expecting to be doing such fast times. He certainly wasn't expecting pole position, but I'm really interested to see how he could influence the overall championship because there's nothing here at stake for him points-wise, and he could really mix things up, especially in that battle for second if we see Chavi Flores take off the way he has in so many rounds so far this season. What do you think, guys?
I think it's a great point, actually, because, Jay, you look at the amount of podiums and the points that these three riders have, and, the difference between, say, first, Jason, and even fifth place is 14 points.
Yeah, he could definitely play a spoiler role, Ken Rocco. We've been watching him in the Twins Cup championship this year. And he did a tremendous job here last year. If you remember, Greg, he won both races, I believe, here at Brainerd. So it's a place that he feels comfortable, confident at. But yeah, in the championship spectrum, he could definitely have a spoiler role.
All right, so Hannah just mentioned that Rocco Landers is on pole. Next to him is Josh Hayes and Teague Hobbs rounding out row number 1.
And then we have Ty Scott, Chavi Flores, our points leader, and Jake Lewis, who's shown some really nice pace this week. And Mesa, surprising to see him back on the third row alongside Dave Anthony and Mazziato. And then Luik Arbel, and then Michael Gilbert and Blake Davis. Back a little further, Nassani LaRoche and the Soltis, Owen Williams, Joel Ullman, and Larry Davis. Then we have Mallory Dobbs, Forsyth, Zaragoza, and Justin Bamer rounding out your field.
All right, 16 laps scheduled for Supersport race number 1 under a very beautiful day here in Minnesota, Jason. Broken clouds around. A little bit of a breeze blowing as well.
Yeah, a lot of fans showed up overnight. And, Greg, the thing about this start that I like is it's a fast turn one, so people can kind of get sorted out relatively quickly. And it's you're building speed through one all the way to two. So hopefully we'll see some separation. So it's a little bit different kind of starting than we see at other racetracks. The old turn one gets implemented, but you can see here we start on the inside to the right of your screen there. That is the actual old track when we used to come here, years and years ago.
Great overhead shots from our Lucas Oil helicopter as we get ready to get on with race action. Supersport race number 1, Rocco Landers. And here we go. And it looks like Josh Hayes got a good launch. How about the Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki team? Looks like Hayes is in a bit of a Suzuki GSX-R 750 sandwich for the moment, but a lot of asphalt to cover before we get to turn number 3.
Look at Mesa from the third row. Mesa sliding up underneath Flores into 4th place. Rocco Landers did not get the launch he wanted, Greg. I believe he's all the way back to 6th place right now. Yeah. Josh Hayes goes for the lead in turn 3.
So there goes the number 4 in the Squirt Hunter Racing Yamaha R6. He takes over the spot. This is where Hayes wants to be. He likes to lead, but the GSX-R 750, nope, not going to happen right now. Hayes still holds on to it. Mesa in 3rd.
Yeah, Mesa's done a tremendous job here, moving himself on that Kawasaki up into 3rd spot. Hayes is the danger guy to get away right now. He has showed incredible pace, doing double duty this weekend, as we will talk about over these next couple of days, riding the Attack Superbike as well. But Hayes out front looking for that victory, Greg, that's going to put him to the top of the leaderboard in all-time wins.
Jake Lewis in the mix back there as well with Rocco Landers, who has drifted from pole position. And Landers has got a lot of work to do if he wants to repeat here at Brainerd International.
This actually sets up perfect for Josh right now, I feel. I think that the guys that I think can catch him or run him down are mired back there. Xavi Flores is quite a ways back in 5th. Rocco Landers is even further back, stuck behind Jake Lewis as he looks to go down the inside of him, down into that turn. As you see Xavi Flores makes a little bit of, gets one more spot up as they go up underneath that tunnel. Dave Anthony in the mix as well. You see him there on the number 25, or sorry, the number 52. But Josh Hayes right now, this is where he likes to be. He loves clean air, loves being able to push the pace, put pressure on these guys to try to catch up to him.
Out front, Hayes just went 138 miles an hour. Ty Scott behind him, 139, just so. And then Mesa on that Cowie, 141.
Yeah, now this is the hard breaking down into turn 3, and all these guys, look at the gap that Josh has now. Now, Greg, the thing I'll be really interested is we get this great overhead view, and the gap that you saw, it'll just keep increasing, I think, by the time the next lap comes through. This guy is going to come and probably start firing off lap times in the 33s. We saw him get down into the 33s along with Rocco Landers. There's Rocco, who just did not get that R6 off the line the way he would have liked. And right now he's stuck behind Teague Hobbs. Xavi Flores just up there with Mesa, and then Ty Scott doing a nice job still rolling around in 2nd there.
And that's a big talking point. Xavi Flores, the number 12 on that Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati. Not looking like he's going to be able to put himself in a position right now to repeat, but there's so many laps to go. We still have 15 to go in this race.
Look at the gap. So all the real technical spots, Greg, you look at Hayes, and it's that's where he is so good on this little nimble R6, all through that big long right-hander that they built here a couple of years ago for us. Xavi Flores now moves up underneath, and Rocco Landers also. So both those guys are trying to get to the front. Flores goes past Mesa, and Rocco goes by Teague Hobbs.
Big aggressive move from Xavi Flores, Hannah.
It was, and he's not feeling any pressure to keep that win streak going because he knows he has such a sizable points lead, and he'll try his best to win, but he doesn't want to take too much to risk it. He said the main problem here is that the power of the motorcycle is feeling very lazy, and he feels like he's overriding compared to everyone else just to try and match their pace, and it's the first time all season that he's been so physically tired after these sessions because he's working so hard to compensate for being less than 100% comfortable as we've seen him in the past on this bike.
And Xavi just makes a big mistake into that corner, Jason.
Got a little bit loose there into turn 3, didn't he?
Yeah, and that's part of that, what he's talking about, possibly overriding that bike.
But how about Rocco Landers going around the outside of Mesa in turn 2? Here's another look back. Flores is going up underneath Mesa, and just behind them, Rocco Landers is sneaking up underneath Teague Hobbs. Now, 2 turns later, Rocco Landers rode around the outside of Mesa in turn 2. Cannot tell you how big of a commitment that is and how fast it is over there. It's going to be 5th gear, pretty well flat out on that R6 for Rocco Landers to roll around the outside. So now, Xavi Forres and Rocco Landers, they're going to work. They're going to have to go to work up ahead now. Ty Scott, as Hayes has, I mean, he's out of the picture right now, isn't he? And I think for Rocco, he hasn't ridden against Xavi Forres all year, so he's going to get a look at what all these other guys have been looking at all season long.
So Josh Hayes, top of the show, talking about how he wants more wins, and he's got a good handle on it right now. As Rocco Landers coming off the corner, trying to get around Xavi Forres. Our overhead shots from our Lucas Oil helicopter gives you a good idea of what it looks like overhead here at Brainerd International Raceway.
Watch this. Let's see if Rocco does this again. He's going to be down the inside of Forres. Is he going to make the pass? He is. So Rocco has just got this thing on rails through turns 1 and 2, and he lets this bike run out all the way to the curbing. You can see him get out on that curbing, so he's obviously very comfortable through there. Now he's got clear track ahead of him.
This is Supersport, next generation versus the older generation bikes. Josh Hayes out front on the Yamaha R6, one of the older generation inline 600cc 4-cylinders that were allowed an upgrade modification right before WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. A head modification allowed to give them a little bit more off the corner. Definitely, that's not the difference right now, as Hayes is just out riding everybody.
How many times have we seen Xavi Forres actually get past this year?
Yeah, not many times.
Not many. And this, you know, Rocco just showing the skills and the talent that he has. I mean, this is where this young man should be. He should be racing in our Supersport class, you know, every weekend. So it's great that I know he's done some fan funding to get this program to Brainerd at a track, again, like we said, very comfortable at. But he's proven to everybody again right now how good he really is, Greg, as he comes through. We'll be watching that gap between him and Ty Scott, and also seeing if he can start taking chunks out of that gap at the lead. As it was last time by, Rocco Landers was 4 seconds behind our leader, Josh Hayes. He's made work of Xavi Forres. Now he's going after Ty Scott, and let's see what these lap times show us now.
And 3 riders behind Rocco Landers. The number 97 is Teague Hobbs. Last time by in sector number 1, Teague Hobbs set the fastest sector 1 time of the race so far. Most of these riders that are in the top 5 setting their fastest laps of the race here with 3 in the books, 4 in the books now. As we have 12 laps to go, it's Josh Hayes with a 3.2 second lead out front of Ty Scott, Rocco Landers, Xavi Forres, Mesa, and Hobbs.
Not only does he have that lead that you're talking about, he's still the only one circulating in the 33s. A 33.8 for the number 4 Josh Hayes that last time by. So even though this guy's on the charge is Rocco, he dropped a full second back from that one on that lap.
And Jason, while Rocco Landers is trying to chip away at that gap to Tyler Scott, I talked to Tyler and he said yesterday some miscommunication with the team, but overnight, from both an electronic and rider standpoint, made some changes, much more comfortable today. I said, you know, you haven't ridden with Rocco at all this season. What are your thoughts? And he said he definitely wants to beat him, and he's a flat tracker at heart. He knows to put his elbows up and fight if he needs to.
Yeah, there's no question he's going to be able to do that. And you know, Ty, this is a good result right now, I think, for the M4 XR Suzuki team. Ty Scott's doing a nice job. I just think that Hayes has something for all these guys. We saw the Yamaha R6 extremely successful here last year in Rocco's hands, and Hayes probably had this one circled on the calendar. And like you say, Greg, with a small modification that they've made to these bikes, the R6 definitely handles amazing. Got a little bit more horsepower now as well. And we're going to keep an eye again. 34.6 that time for Josh Hayes as they went through. 34.8 and 34.4 for Rocco Landers. So Rocco Landers right now 4 seconds back.
And of course, Hayes, the only one who's done a 33 lap time. The qualifier was 33.2. Hayes has done a 1:33.5, and that was on lap number 3 as he continues to put the pressure on this field to try to close that gap. As Rocco Landers continues to close the gap on the Vision Wheel M4XR Suzuki of Ty Scott. And I mentioned it, Scott's done some dirt tracking. He is a scrapper and a fighter at 17 years old. And Rocco is going to have his hands full. He's got to figure out where to pass him as well. This is the next generation GSXR 750 going up against the Yamaha R6. Of course, MotoAmerica controlling the power output through electronics on these next generation bikes, including this 955 Ducati V2 of Xavi Forres.
Looks like Teague Hobbs has got through on Mesa as well, huh?
Yeah, a little wide 2 by Hobbs out in the dirt, as that happens here at Brainerd and a lot of other places. So Teague Hobbs with a front row seat getting a great education of Xavi Forres. And they're, you know, more so than the bike, Jason, I think, you know, because Hannah mentioned that Xavi thinks the bike feels a little bit lazy. There are just some sections here where Forres doesn't look as comfortable as he has before, mid-corner with this bike.
Yeah, well, and right now he is in championship form in the sense that he knows that he can't win this race now, Greg, obviously as far back as he is. It's going to feel like a pretty weird feeling for him. You know, in Hannah's report earlier where she said that, you know, she spoke to Xavi and championship wasn't important, the streak wasn't important, rather.
The streak, yeah.
The streak's always going to be important because you always want to just see that, you know, the best you can if you could be racing for it. And you see Rocco, he closes up on the back of Ty Scott. But I think, look at him going, he's trying to go around the outside of Ty Scott through turn 2. Is he going to be close enough for turn 3? We know Ty's really good on the brakes down in there. So, you know, for Xavi, he probably realized real early that he wasn't going to be competing for the win. And, you know, now it's just get as many points as he can and get out of here.
Yeah, Xavi's eyes are forward, not only in the race, but also as to what his future holds. And he has alluded to the fact that there's the possibility, if he wraps his championship up early this season, that he'll get a go at the Superbike and be teammates for real in Medallia Superbike with his teammate in the team, Josh Herron.
Rocco's through.
Rocco gets through on Ty Scott. Up to second he goes. Now we're going to see how much Rocco Landers has in the tank to chase down his former coach, Josh Hayes. This is going to get exciting if Hayes isn't able to answer some advancements of Rocco Landers, who's in second. As we continue to watch this battle for fourth, your championship points leader, Xavi Forres, is leading Hobbs, Mesa, and Jake Lewis right there as well. So the 85 having another good run on the Disrupt Racing GSXR 750. That's the orange bike just behind the 37. That's Tytler Cycle Kawasaki's Stefano Mesa.
34-1 for Hayes last time to a 34-6. Let's see what they are this time. 34 flat for Josh, and Rocco Landers is going to come through about 4.5 seconds back at a 34-3. So Hayes still pushing the pace up at the front. His pit board, now the pit boards are going to be in a little different spot than where they normally would be, Greg. And when we look out our window right now, all the pit lane is directly down in front of us. But the spots for the actual signs for the pit boards are along that start-finish line area over there. So Josh is still going to be able to get a good look at where he's at here. About 4.5 seconds back.
Teague Hobbs going around Xavi Forres. So just like that, the 20-year-old from New Hampshire advances himself to fourth. There goes Mesa around Xavi Forres.
Josh Xavi shake his head, so he realizes there's still a lot of guys that were kind of lined up behind him, and Jake Lewis is going to take another shot right now, maybe down the inside of turn 6. Not quite close enough there, but Lewis is going to want to go running with both Teague Hobbs and Mesa. He's not going to want to get held up at all, and yeah, just riding really well, but Forrest just a little bit off, obviously, with setups and things here.
With 8.5 laps to go in this race, Ty Scott's got to be concerned that his teammate Teague Hobbs might put his finishing position in jeopardy, as Hobbs looking for another podium finish this season in his rookie year on the Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki. All eyes really, Jason, on Teague Hobbs as one of the bright future stars of our sport. And Teague Hobbs having a great run in his opportunity to get on to a team of this caliber and really showcase his riding talent. We've talked earlier in the season about his commitment to the sport, what his days are like at home in New Hampshire, and how they are committed both diet and physical fitness to make sure that he is in tip-top shape when he gets here to MotoAmerica to race his GSXR 750.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with him since Daytona, and it goes to show when you get a young man, again, Greg, that gets on a great team. He's been really moving forward. He's been consistent. We've seen him on the podium, and right now he's making a run at his teammate, isn't he?
And Jason, just to build on what Greg was saying about Teague and his discipline, he said he's trying to be more disciplined in all aspects of his life, especially because he's doing so well these last few rounds. It's brought about the realization that he really has a shot at making it in this sport. He has a renewed sense of drive for this sport compared to last year. He's really having fun. He said his fast laps during his best qualifyings this season, he hasn't felt that fast, like he didn't have to push so hard. So now his goal for the remainder of the season is to be that relaxed over a full race distance. He wants to be a consistent podium finisher.
Once you see the pace, Hannah, it never changes. In other words, there's a lot of times when these young racers will be in that 5th, 6th, 8th, 10th range. Once they get up front that first time, they get to see what that actual pace feels like, and they realize there's such a sense of confidence that you get when you get up there that first time. And then, Greg, when you go to other tracks, you go there different than you did before or years before, because you know that you can ride with the people that you've been chasing for so long. And I feel like this is a great example right here. Teague Hobbs comes into this team and really looks like he's probably going to be a second fiddle rider or a B rider or whatever you want to call it to Ty Scott, and you can see what he's done with that. He gets with his team, they continue to make this bike better, and now he's right on pace and right on par, every bit as good as Ty, and he gets stronger as the races go.
Yeah, you just have to put a race together. You can see for the position that Rocco Landers is in, who's now only 3.9 seconds behind Hayes, so he's made up 0.3 of a second on the leader with 6.5 laps to go. But in terms of Teague Hobbs, it's about putting that complete, right? So you got to get out and you got to get that race start and you got to be aggressive and figure out how aggressive your competitors are on that first lap. And really, you know, Jason, if you look at Rocco Landers, this would have been the first time in MotoAmerica that Rocco Landers has actually had a race start on a Supersport machine since last season. And obviously it didn't go exactly to plan for Landers. He's able to get himself now another 1/10 of a second on Hayes. And Jason, you mentioned pit boards. If you're new to MotoAmerica Supersport racing or road racing in general, there's no two-way communication on these motorcycles with the riders and the crew. So how they get their information is either do what Rocco does occasionally, which is look behind him to take a gander at who's there, and look at a pit board. Your crew is going to have information. They're back here in the pits. The pit boards are down the road a ways. They have radios, and they're relaying the information to the rider that they deem necessary, right, Jay? It's a team rider communication. Specific for them. You can
get whatever, you can have whatever you want on your board as well. So some guys like to see the distance behind them and the place they're in. Some guys like to see the laps done. So you know, it's very much a preference thing. Right here on the left of Rocco right now is where the boards will be. So I'm just looking at it, Greg. First split, Rocco was a little quicker. Second split, Josh was a little bit quicker. Third split, they're identical. So that's why you're seeing a 34.2 for Hayes and 34.4 that time for Rocco. So Josh Hayes right now managing things nicely with 6 laps to go.
And as we continue to get deeper into this race with about 5.5 laps remaining in Supersport race number 1, we're going to start talking about Josh Hayes and what's at stake for him. Probably in a couple laps, Jay, as Rocco Landers trying to find some traction. You heard that bike spin up awfully quick on him. That might be a sign of how much rear tire he's had to use to try to get into this second place position and get by other riders. And the one thing about Rocco that we do know, Jay, is that he's not the biggest fan of a motorcycle when it starts to move around on him. Some riders, a lot of riders come from dirt track. They can't even ride a bike where the wheels are in line. They like to have the thing spinning and moving. Rocco is not the biggest fan of the bike when it starts moving around.
Yeah, and he's got a ton of laps everywhere. I mean, he's always at go-kart tracks. He's always riding, puts a lot of miles on motorcycles, so he knows what he likes, and he knows what he likes to feel. So there's nothing wrong with that as you get a good look here at the all-time wins list. Miguel Duhamel and Josh Hayes. Josh Hayes has been chasing this all season long, and we thought it might have happened at Laguna, and it didn't. But one race later, he's back at Brainerd, place that he's been racing at for a bunch of years, double dutying it even this weekend, like we said, and he's about 5 laps away. Just keep hammering down, Josh. Let's see what the lap time is this time. Another 34.2. So it's that consistency that just grinds his competitors away.
Look, I love the gutsiness of our TV truck, okay? Me personally, I wasn't want to bring that in until about 2 corners to the finish of this race. But that's just because you know how that goes.
I know, yeah.
Commentator curse. But Hayes is beyond that. He's got everything dialed in right now. He looks comfortable on the bike. And Jay, you mentioned it, double duty. I mean, for this rider right here, his focus has been Supersport. He got the call from Yamaha. And they said, look, we need a fill-in rider. Cameron Peterson is out for the season on the Fresh and Lean Progressive Yamaha team. Can you come in and fill in for us this race? And Jay, at 48 years old, Josh Hayes has got to do back-to-back races. He's got to get off the bike, get a glass of water, and then get back on a motorcycle with more horsepower, more weight, and do 20 laps around this place.
And really the worst part about it is, you know, this being somewhat of a historic victory for him, if he manages to get this thing around for another 4.25 laps, he's not even really get to enjoy it, is he?
I mean, no time to celebrate.
I don't even know if he's going to get to go to the podium. So, you know, this is still a big deal for him, obviously.
Yeah, Miguel Duhamel is an absolute legend across the board in many different motorcycles over his career. And same thing with this rider right here with 7 career titles under his belt, 4 Superbike titles. But Jay, we still have we're getting ready to go 4 laps to go here as we redo the order. It's Josh Hayes out front on that Squid Hunter Racing Yamaha R6. Rocco Landers still 4.3 seconds behind Ty Scott. Teague Hobbs on the Suzukis. Mesa Flores drifting back. Jake Lewis right behind him, and then David Anthony also on a Suzuki GSX-R 750. And then you have Anthony Mazziato and Loic Abel from France coming in here this time, and he's in 10th place. There's Josh Hayes' wife, Melissa Paris, running her own team and looking on, destroying her fingernails with good reason.
Yeah, but Josh has this, you know, like, look at 34.3 again, still quicker, a little bit, only by 10th quicker than Rocco that time, 4.5 seconds to go. This guy, Greg, I mean, look, he's done this and he's been in this position, what, 86 times before?
Yeah.
So, you know,
Well, actually a little more than that. There were some disqualifications, and we won't talk about that.
Yeah, but this guy knows every last little bit of what he's trying to get accomplished here. And again, it's the consistency. It's being able to hit your marks lap after lap, and that's what he's so good at. I mean, you think about it at 48, there's a reason why he's on a superbike this weekend, because he's just a smart guy. He rides so well. He's very methodical on the bike. He's very, you know, he knows everything about these bikes too, what he likes to feel. He was up here in the booth talking to us earlier about some different setups and this and that. And, you know, he's got everything covered.
So Josh Hayes out front with, as we get closer to the start-finish line here, little bit of some front-end movement.
34.3 again, though.
34.3, so 3 laps to go for Hayes. Rocco Landers not able to make any inroads, but still, after what I think we can deem a disastrous start for Landers, what a recovery he's made to put his bike in 2nd place, especially on a one-off ride. But we all know Rocco absolutely loves Brainerd International.
He does, and it shows. He's riding really, really well as usual. And the start, it's all it was today. The start hurt Rocco. He had to go through too many guys. He had to go through a lot of guys that he's not really raced with at all this year, and so that is about the only downfall in this race. Other than that, he's rode a picture-perfect race as well, always going forward, looking up the road, running consistent lap times himself. But, you know, this guy went 33.2 yesterday, and today he's gone 34.1 in the race, where Hayes has been able to be the only guy to get himself back down into the 33s.
And you see left part of your screen that Jake Lewis has gotten around Xavi Forez. So Forez loses another point in the championship, but he had 100 points coming in here. And here's a pair of Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzukis. And Teague Hobbs trying to close in on his teammate and snatch that podium away from Tyler Scott. This could get a little dicey for sure if Hobbs is able to close up. Jay, I know you're looking at timing and scoring. What are we looking at in terms of lap time comparisons?
Just looking at things, the last time by he was a 10th off was Teague Hobbs, so he was a little bit closer. And on this lap, though, he's gained 2/10 in the first split, lost one there, but he's gained it back. He's got his fastest 3rd split, so he's still trying to get into that gap that Ty Scott's got on him. So we got 2 laps to go. It's probably going to be, it's going to be half a second, maybe a little over half a second. So yeah, 8/10. So he's got to try to pull back 4/10 a lap in the next 2, and then he's got to figure out a way to get past that number 70 of Ty Scott.
Yeah, Ty Scott looking really good though at the end of that last on split number 4. Ty Scott also in split number 4, Jason, set the fastest split of the race. He knows his teammates there. So that last sector split was 15.911 seconds for Ty Scott. And this rider right here, Mesa, coming into this championship, and you see where he sits in the points at the top of the show. And for Mesa, having a good run at it on that Kawasaki ZX6RR, the Tytler's bike. And Mesa, who was coming into this race 100 points behind, he's actually, even with 5th place for Mesa, he's still going to gain a couple of points on Xavi Forez if it finishes like this, with Forez currently in 7th spot.
Looking at this, Greg, we're going to have about a lap. We're going to have 1 lap left after Hayes comes across this next time through. He's still pounding out those 34s. 34.7 that last time to Rocco's 35 flat. All the guys behind, Ty Scott, Hobbs, Mesa, they are all in the 34s as well. But it's just this relentless pace that the number 4 has done year in and year out is what's going to take him to this one today, Greg, and it'll be fun to see the celebrations that will happen for this guy. And I think everybody in the paddock will be pretty happy to see Josh finally get this off his back.
Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. White flag out. Final lap for Josh Hayes to put himself alone in the record books on top as the winningest all-time rider across all classes. But Teague Hobbs just goes 1:34.339, his fastest lap of the race in 4th place, trying to track down his teammate, and that's getting pretty close for that final spot on the podium, as Rocco Landers has a 4.5-second buffer to Josh Hayes and another 2.2-second buffer back to Ty Scott in 3rd. Hayes uncharacteristic, but a look over his shoulder.
That's really unusual to see Josh do that. So I think he just wanted to try to believe his pit board, and you never see this guy look back over his shoulder as he just did there. And this is going to be a big shot of energy for him, getting this win, lining up for Superbike in probably another 20 minutes right after this race. But he's going to be able to come in, celebrate a little bit, hopefully get a drink. He'll be right back to work on an attack Superbike.
Incredible for this rider, Josh Hayes. He's been trying to do it for a while. Squid Hunter Racing didn't make the commitment to come racing full-time until Road Atlanta, and now they've put themselves in this incredible position. Just a couple corners to go for Josh Hayes. At 48 years old, Hayes coming into turn number 12, and then it's to 13 as he has another look over his shoulder.
We're going to have to ask him about that, because I've never, in all the years I've known this guy, I've never seen him do it.
Wheel in the air, 48 years in the making, and Josh Hayes wins Supersport and takes over with the all-time win record, 87 career victories. As teammates go to the line, it's got to be Ty Scott who holds off Teague Hobbs, and in doing so, Ty Scott sets his fastest lap of the race at a 34.1 as Teague Hobbs does the same thing. So they'll talk about that with Rocco Landers in second, 87 career wins. His wife, Melissa, happy as can be. And what a place to do it. At Brainerd International Raceway. He's been coming here since the beginning of his career, Josh Hayes has, in AMA Superbike competition. It's been a long time. He loves this place. And the old configuration track, when we had the old turn 1 here, Hayes was always the fastest. He just loves this place, gets along with it. It makes a lot of sense to his brain, and he put it down this time. What a run by Josh Hayes, a legendary run. You got to see it here. Rocco Landers for a one-off debut, coming from first on the grid to second place, and then that battle between those Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki riders of Ty Scott and Hobbs. Mesa in 5th place. Jake Lewis ends up 6th in front of Xavi Forez. So for your championship points leader, Forez, he'll bank 9 points in this one. Your race pace, that 33.598, the fastest lap of the race as well in this one, Jason.
Yeah, and then he clicked a 33 right after that, and then the rest are all in the 34s. You can see even up to lap 11, 34.2. Then the next two after that were both 34.3s. This guy's got the respect of his peers, got the respect of the paddock, and big congrats. I mean, Greg, when you think about it, there's quite a few riders in this that weren't even born when Josh was winning his first few races some 20 years ago. So big ups to Josh Hayes.
When we come back, we're going to talk to Hayes about this victory, his historic, when we come back.
So much history unfolding in this race alone, Roger. Absolutely unbelievable what we are seeing here. First and foremost, of course, Josh Hayes setting that all-time record of 87 wins across AMA and MotoAmerica, all classes. He stands alone at this stage. But the other part of it is the streak is done. The streak is done. And so Xavi Forez, 8 in a row, that will stand for a long time, I think. Most Supersport wins in a row, and he's got the record easily for most wins starting a MotoAmerica career with 8 in a row as well. So absolutely incredible for him. But just an impressive run by Josh Hayes. And for Rocco Landers, a one-off appearance, gets the pole, drops back as far back as 6th, then has to fight up through the field. This has just been an absolutely phenomenal race that has been unfolding here. And Teague Hobbs running down everybody in front of him as well and getting to the back of his teammate Tyler Scott and finishing less than half a second off of Tyler. There was a lot going on in this one.
Yeah, it's a lot, but, you know, this race is all about Josh today winning and breaking that record. And, You know, it's the most impressive thing. You know, this morning we were talking about him living in the 33s and 34s and practice, backing those laps up, doing his work before the race. And, you know, he's got the most experience. He's riding Superbike, and he's putting more laps than anybody in practice and qualifying. You look at the number of laps, he's constantly putting in the work and transitions over to the race. And Josh does what he does. He goes out and he gets up to speed really quick, and he broke the pack on the first lap.
Well, and he's one of those guys we talk about. It's a lot like what Jake Gagne does, isn't it? He races what he practices, and he gets out there and just is able to do that. And you could see it immediately. He wanted to get to the front. He knew he had a bike that could do it, and he broke them.
And I think that was his plan.
Yeah.
From the get-go. So he executed it, and it's great to see, and we'll see tomorrow if he can really add to that win list.
Absolutely. I wouldn't put it past him here. All right, when we come back here, it's going to be hearing from our podium in Supersport, a history-making one at that.
Josh Hayes coming into victory lane. Celebrations from his team and his wife Melissa there, and his kids as well. Can't believe he pulled that one off. And there it is, the new standard, 87 wins to his career. And boy, you think Miguel's at home right now going, oh, come on.
Dusting off the boots.
He's ready. Miguel's ready to come back and get racing. Let's take a look at those results at Hayes. 3.2 seconds over Rocco, Ty Scott, and Hobbs. You can see just 0.4 of a second between those teammates. Mesa Lewis and Xavi Flores in 7th place. Let's get to Hannah, who's got the number 4.
Josh Hayes has been wanting this win for quite a while, and for more than one reason. You know, we spoke earlier, you said you're looking for a win every time you go out, but this one's a little special. 87 career wins, the new record. What is it about this race that'll stand out among so many victories?
Oh man, he'll be happy not to talk about this record anymore. I'm just thankful for every opportunity. Squid Hunter's given me such an incredible bike all year, and finally we were able to make it happen, you know. So it was such a fun race. I had to be super aggressive in the beginning. It allowed me to open up a little bit of a gap and manage it. And man, what a pleasure to ride this machine. And you know, maybe a little extra time on the Superbike helped. You know, I felt like I put the first sector together a lot better today, and I'm looking forward to getting on that next. And who knows?
Before we talk about Superbikes, you know, one more Supersport race for you tomorrow. What are the chances that you can back up today's win with the double?
I mean, I think we're going to be in the race at the front, whatever that looks like. I would expect these guys to improve till before tomorrow, and I think we have a good bike. We got one or two little areas maybe we can look at too, and I'm just looking forward to a good battle. I love going to war every week.
Congratulations, Josh Hayes. Today's race winner, 2nd place today, Rocco Landers. You definitely had your work cut out for you at the beginning of that race, but you were able to work your way up into 2nd. Take us through some of the challenges there for you.
Yeah, I got to say sorry to my team. I'm humiliated that's the way I repay their hard work is with a start like that. That was awful. I need to be up there sooner. That's a problem that I've been working with for the past couple years. But they've worked so hard. We have so many people out here this weekend to help me out. We got my sister, Bo. We got my Aunt Ann, my girlfriend, Emma Grace, our friend Dale, and my dad, my chassis mechanic, Tarl, our data guy, Cam Jones, our buddy Eric Lingus, my Uncle Brady. Everyone who's been working hard. It was a good race. I need to work on some stuff. It's obvious. The 2nd place is not the way you want to race. But, I mean, tomorrow's another day, and I'm not going to make that mistake again.
Is it something that's important to you in order to be up there racing with someone who used to coach you like Josh Hayes? Are you looking to hopefully try to beat him tomorrow? What's your goal?
Sorry, the goal is always to win. That's 2nd place doesn't get you a ride. Wins get you rides. That's why we need to win the race tomorrow.
All right, Rocco Landers, 2nd place today, seeming a little bit disappointed, but looking forward to another shot at it tomorrow. Rounding out our podium, Ty Scott back on the box. Tyler, toward the end of that race there, you're really trying to chip away at the gap toward Rocco Landers, but your teammate was also hot on your tail. How did that change how you were riding?
Yeah, the bike felt great during the whole race, and right at the end there, I felt a little bit more comfortable. I was losing the front in some spots, but I felt great towards the end of the race and was able to keep chipping away, getting closer to my qualifying time, and found some pace at the end. I think we can definitely make some improvements overnight and definitely be in the running for the win of the race tomorrow, but big thanks to the whole Vision Wheel, M4XR Suzuki team, all the hard work they put in this weekend so far, getting the bike dialed in, and I'm confident for tomorrow's race.
You know, when we spoke earlier, you said you definitely had some eyes on guys out there you wanted to beat, and that didn't work out for you today as far as Rocco Landers goes. Was there anything you learned from racing alongside him that could help you, you know, pull off the advantage tomorrow over him?
Yeah, for sure. I had some goals set, and I didn't quite achieve them today, but I'm really happy with the performance of the bike. And my race, I got a good start. The pace of the race was, I think, pretty fast. Definitely will go a lot faster tomorrow, but yeah, I feel great.
Tyler Scott rounding out your podium, looking to take it a step further tomorrow.
Yeah, and Jason, Rocco Landers and Ty Scott's their fastest lap of the race were identical, 1:34.106. The difference is Ty Scott was able to do it on the very last lap.
Crazy.
And he mentioned he was close to his qualifying time. He was only 3/10 slower in the race than he was full speed qualifying time. Well, Josh Hayes gets it done. He hopes we're going to stop talking about it, but we're not. 87 wins all time for Hayes. Our coverage continues from Brainerd of Supersport in a minute.
We heard him say, oh, it'll be nice to now be talking about it, but you know, Roger, that record means a huge amount to him. And I think for him, there was a little sense of urgency because of a guy named Bobier.
Yeah, with Cameron is catching him pretty quick, and a young rider, and the way Cam Bobier's riding this year, he could catch him. But for Josh, I mean, what an incredible achievement. You know, I've known Josh for a long time, raced against him, and he's one of those guys that really dug in. He didn't, you know, when he got an opportunity, he took it the really hard way. He didn't really have things handed to him, and he kind of refused not to be successful. And it's great to see him. And you know, you don't really see him celebrate kind of like the way he is today. So it's pretty cool to see him, you know, get that and be excited. And you know, most wins, I mean, you put yourself in the record books by yourself is just a huge accomplishment. And for Josh, I can't say he put the work in his whole career, and that's, you know, he dug in when he had to, and hard work pays off.
Well, and like, you know, all the great riders, obviously, you know, you race through injury, you race through adversity, and he's always done that. And on a personal level for me, I'm delighted to see this because in the mid-2000s when I did my first AMA announcing in the Spies Mladen era, just as a reference point, the one guy that always said, you need any information, you know, the motorcycle thing, I hadn't done that for a while. He said, anything you need, come find me. And he always made time just to help me out with answering any questions or whatever. So this is he's not just a world-class racer. I think he's a class act as a human being as well, and that has been great. And look at, you can see the family. Look at this. Watch this here for Melissa. Yeah, there it is. It happened. And you know, this is that whole family has been waiting for this, wanting this, and now they've got it.
Yep, and now the time to get ready to go superbike racing with the you know, with the big boys. So you know, for him, he's going to know how the track is. He's going to be warmed up. But I can also say it is really difficult for him to be able to going to do 4 races this weekend.
Yeah.
You know, this track is so physical. You talk about, you know, all the riders talk about how physical it is, and that means it's a lot of effort.
Well, and he's going to have a huge adrenaline rush from setting that record, but you know full well that he is going to be sleeping well tonight. More urgently, it's 2 minutes till pit lane opens. He's got to get over. I don't know if he's changing leathers or not, but he's got to get over there and get on that super bike. So once again, after a big victory, a record-setting victory, he's in another race. Look at that, Jake Gagne coming over immediately and saying, well done and congratulations. And now, as Jake's teammate, Josh has to turn it around. You heard him there saying, well, I'm warmed up, that's for sure. And he's gassed up. He is, I'm sure, just absolutely jazzed right now and getting ready to go after it on the number 4 Superbike for MotoAmerica competition. So just checking on the times and everything as he gets ready to go. A record holder, 87 career wins.
MotoAmerica Supersport coverage is brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series, and by Geico Motorcycle. Visit geico.com to see how easy covering your ride can be.
Josh Hayes on the podium with his family celebrating his first win of the season and his 87th career all-time win across all classes. Jay, do you remember every single win that Hayes?
We're up there trying to think about the first one, but I know I was his teammate, and he got some then. Here's some race highlights, and you can see that number 4 got off to the familiar place that he always likes to be, leading these races, putting pressure on people early. As you see wife Melissa, who he's probably had to talk about this 87th win with for a while as well. And but Josh just put his head down and did what every great champion does, Greg. He went out and led this race from the front. Like we said in the telecast, it was awfully odd to see him even taking a peek over his shoulder. But he did that a couple times on that last lap just to make double sure nobody was going to come and sabotage this great 87th victory of his career.
And you know, back in 2018, he did mention, hey, listen, I'm not retiring. I'm just stepping away from racing. And it proved really to be the future, really. I mean, the fact that he ends up doing 1 or 2 races here or there, finds a lot of speed here in MotoAmerica competition, and then gets this full-time ride. The other thing to keep in mind, you know, when we look at Josh on big bikes and everything, as you can see, the all-time leader, all classes now, all by himself over Miguel Duhamel, who did it on a variety of motorcycles. But if you look at it too, the one thing that people don't know about Josh is that during the course of the season, he's also doing Wera endurance races as well on a Yamaha R1 on Dunlop tires for Army of Darkness. So Josh has got plenty of time all year long, not just MotoAmerica riding.
Yeah, he's on a bike a lot, and he's traveling around the country, like you said, him and wife Melissa with their 2 kids, traveling all over the place, doing some Wera stuff. I mean, even in that time period where we didn't see him racing as much, he was still testing, he was still racing. He went over to Phillip Island and did the Classic over there. So he's never wanted to say the word retire. He's always wanted to keep going. He still loves to ride a bike. And I think that in a way he almost felt like he was getting pushed aside, and he just wasn't letting it happen. And people, obviously, with his reputation, people wanted to help him. And I think it's great that Squid Hunter jumped up this year and helped him, because we'd seen them come in and out of the series a couple times. But Squid Hunter jumped up and committed for the season, and this is what they got for it today. So, yeah, for me, it's really cool because he was my teammate, and I think a lot of Josh. And 87 wins is incredible.
Now, we have been talking about it quite a bit, probably for, what, a year and a half or something. And he said he's relieved that we don't have to talk about it any longer. You've been in those positions before, not just about the all-time win, but even if you're in a championship hunt and people are like, hey, you got the points lead, you're so close to this championship. What is it like to finally get something like that done and dusted with?
Well, no, I've never been in that position before. This guy has won way more than I ever could have, okay? But I know what the feeling that he was going through, because there were certain times in my career where there were little things that people would ask me, and I'd start to think about them. This is kind of a big one, though, because you always wonder, you know, he knows how to win, and then you kind of think, is it going to happen? I mean, at Laguna, we all thought it was going to happen, and then it just didn't. So then you kind of go, oh, man, is it going to happen? And, you know, here today at Brainerd, at a track that he's so familiar with from way back in the day, he comes back and wins on a new track that he hasn't actually raced on before. So pretty incredible stuff.
Yeah, incredible. Let's take a look at some race highlights, Jason, from what we just saw here in Supersport, because really a lot of this has to do with the start.
Yeah, we saw this highlight just now in our little Josh Hayes special highlight, but you can see Rocco Landers, like he said, did not get the start he wanted. Ty Scott got a tremendous start and went forward. Mesa as well. Great start for Mesa, especially coming from that 3rd row. You also see Xavi Flores here trying to make his way forward, and we weren't really quite sure what the Ducati rider was going to have underneath him to see if that pace was going to be sustainable. It eventually ended up not being sustainable. Rocco Landers rolling around the outside of Stefano Mesa will be something that I will remember. A lap later, he goes up underneath Xavi Flores in that exact same spot. So that Landers Racing R6 is done just a tremendous job. You can see how well that motorcycle is working, Greg. Ty Scott goes up underneath Xavi Flores as they go up under turn 2, but this guy was way long gone at this point, watching his pit board, doing his thing, and he would come across the line here. As you see again, number 4 takes the win. Rocco Landers 2nd. He'll be back tomorrow. Rocco Landers just got to get that bike off the line a little bit better tomorrow, and I think that you're going to see Ty Scott, Teague Hobbs, Mesa, all these guys are going to be a little bit closer tomorrow as well.
Without question. So there's a look at win number 87 all-time for Hayes. And, of course, if you look at the way he did it, Jason, it's classic Josh Hayes style. He put the pressure on the front of the field early. Now, So what's happened is Josh Hayes has now worked his way into second in this championship. Xavi Forés not doing too much damage, really. He had 100 points coming into this one. It's 91 points over Hayes currently.
Yeah, now he can actually relax and think a little bit too, Xavi. He's going to want to still go out and win a bunch of races, but now that streak is gone. As you said, sometimes when you have a streak that's been going on for as long as it has, people are wondering if it's ever going to end. It has. He can focus on his championship.
And I think that they're going to go back now also with that team, and they're going to take a look at that V2 and say, okay, what do we have to do to this motorcycle to make it more comfortable for you to ride at the pace? Because we could see midway through the race that Xavi was really struggling and having to push really hard to maintain the pace.
And if you remember last year, this was a track where we saw Josh Herron not even be able to get close to Rocco as well. So the V2 around here, maybe there's just something about it that doesn't quite work that well, because we've seen two very talented guys not be able to run that pace at the front. So we'll see if they can get that thing a little bit more comfortable for Forés tomorrow to get up front with those guys.
And, of course, Brainerd International Raceway is a completely different track in terms of this track is flat. And everything that we've gone to so far this season, a lot of elevation changes. And you do need a different setup to manage that, don't you?
Yeah, there's no question. I think that you brought that up to me earlier about this really being the flattest track that we go to. And sometimes when it comes to setups and you're not focusing on the ups and downs or cambers of different types of turns where you want to really try to improve, if you have one common denominator here, it is that it's flat. And if they're not getting that bike hooked up the way they wanted, they're going to have to go another direction with geometry or whatever it is to get that bike a little bit better.
So the good news for the rest of the field is we get to do it all again tomorrow. Supersport Brainerd International Raceway, race number 2 will be coming at you. The fans are here, the sun is shining, and we'll see what tomorrow brings. Can Hayes extend his all-time win record? We're already talking about that. Can Xavi Forés stop the bleeding? Well, for Hannah and Jason, I'm Greg. Thanks so much for joining us. We can't wait to see this again tomorrow.